If you think what's coming next is just another recession, then you're already underestimating the situation because recessions are obvious, they're loud, they announce themselves with fear, headlines, and chaos. What's coming next doesn't need permission to arrive. It's already unfolding quietly, slowly, and without drama. Welcome back to Luke Invests. I'm Luke, and on this channel we talk about money the way it actually works, not the way it's sold to you. Let me say this straight. A recession is when the economy slows down. What we're walking into is when the rules change, and rule changes don't care how hard you worked under the old system. For years, we lived in a world where money was cheap, interest rates were low, debt was easy, and risk didn't feel like risk. People started believing that growth was guaranteed, governments borrowed without hesitation, companies expanded without caution, individuals upgraded lifestyles without backup plans, and everyone assumed tomorrow would fix today. But here's my personal opinion, and this is important, the real damage doesn't come when money disappears. It comes when money becomes expensive again, because expensive money exposes weakness. Think about your own life for a moment. How many decisions you made were based on the assumption that income would keep rising? How many expenses exist only because credit was available? How many commitments would feel heavy if things stayed the same? Not worse, just the same. That's where pressure begins. This is not about panic. This is about realism. Most people are waiting for a crash. They're waiting for markets to fall, real estate to collapse, or headlines to scream recession. But that's not how this plays out. This time, the damage is subtle. Wages struggle to keep up. Costs refuse to come down. Opportunities become harder to access. And slowly, month by month, people feel like they're running faster just to stay in the same place. That's not a recession problem. That's a structural problem. Another uncomfortable truth, the middle class is the most vulnerable in this shift. Why? Because the middle class depends on stability, stable jobs, predictable expenses, gradual progress, but stability is becoming rare. Companies are optimizing, not expanding. Technology is replacing, not supporting. And loyalty is no longer rewarded the way it used to be. This is not fear talk. This is observation. AI and automation don't eliminate jobs overnight. They slowly reduce the need for humans, fewer openings, more competition, lower bargaining power. And when income growth slows while costs stay high, pressure builds silently. This is why I keep saying what's coming is worse than a recession because it doesn't shock people early. There's no clear signal telling you to prepare. There's no single moment where everyone wakes up. People adjust little by little until suddenly they realize they've adjusted too much. Let me be honest with you. Hard work still matters, but it's no longer enough. So, right? Education still matters, right? But it's no longer protection. Experience still matters, but it's no longer security. Right? Adaptability is the new currency. And most people are not adapting. They're hoping things go back to normal. But normal was built on conditions that no longer exist. Low interest rates were not normal. Unlimited growth was not normal. Cheap money was not normal. We're not entering a crisis. We're exiting an illusion, and exiting illusions is always painful. Now, if this perspective already feels different from the usual finance content, tap the like button. It helps this reach people who actually need to hear it. And if you want to understand money instead of reacting to it, subscribe to Luke Invests, because this channel is about positioning, not prediction. Here's something I've learned over time. People don't fail financially because they're lazy. They fail because they follow outdated assumptions. They assume jobs are permanent, expenses are manageable, growth is guaranteed, systems are stable, but systems evolve. And when they do, those who don't evolve with them pay the price. Right now, we're in a phase where nothing feels broken enough to panic, but nothing feels secure enough to relax. And that uncertainty is exactly where mistakes happen. People delay decisions, they ignore signals, they wait for clarity that never arrives. And by the time clarity shows up, options are already limited. This is the dangerous part of what's coming. Not collapse, but compression. Less margin for error, less room to experiment, less forgiveness for bad decisions, and the people who understand this early gain one powerful advantage: time. Time is the only advantage left in an environment like this, and most people are wasting it. They're waiting for things to become clear, they're waiting for certainty, they're waiting for someone smarter to explain what's happening. But here's the uncomfortable reality: clarity never arrives before damage. It arrives after. By the time everyone agrees something is wrong, the cost of acting has already doubled. That's how financial cycles work. This is why I keep warning people, not emotionally, but logically. The next phase will not punish ignorance immediately. It will reward awareness quietly. Let me explain. When money was cheap, mistakes were invisible, bad businesses survived, weak financial decisions didn't hurt immediately, people confuse luck with skill. But when conditions tighten, the margin disappears. And without margin, every decision matters. This is where people start feeling stuck, not poor, not broke, just stuck. Stuck in jobs they can't leave, stuck with expenses they can't reduce, stuck with responsibilities they can't pause. That's not a recession effect, that's a pressure trap, and pressure traps don't explode, they exhaust. Another personal opinion, and this one might offend some people. Most financial stress today isn't caused by low income, it's caused by rigid life structures, fixed EMs, fixed lifestyles, fixed identities. When your life has no flexibility, even small shocks feel massive, and the system ahead is full of small shocks. Not one big collapse, but repeated stress, a little higher rent, a little slower salary growth, a little more competition, a little less opportunity. Over time, those littles compound. And this is where psychology breaks people before money does. People stop planning long term. They stop investing in themselves. They shift into survival mode. Survival mode feels safe, but it's expensive. Because when you only focus on surviving, you stop building leverage, and leverage is the only thing that protects you in unstable systems. Let me be very clear here. Leverage is not just money. It's skills that are hard to replace. It's income streams that don't depend on one employer. It's savings that buy you time. It's mental clarity when others panic. Most people are over-leveraged in the wrong direction. Too much dependence, too much debt, too much optimism based on the past. And optimism without preparation is just delayed regret. Another thing people don't want to hear: this phase will reward people who are boring with money. Not flashy, not aggressive, not desperate for quick wins, boring people who keep liquidity, control expenses, build skills quietly, think long term, because boring survives uncertainty. Speculation does not. Right now, social media is still selling dreams, fast money, shortcuts, lifestyle upgrades, but those dreams were designed for a different environment. An environment where mistakes were forgiven. That environment is gone, and those who don't update their strategy will keep blaming the economy, the government, or bad luck without realizing they're playing an outdated game. This is why mindset matters more than markets right now. If you believe the system will go back to how it was, you'll keep postponing hard decisions. But if you accept that this is a new normal, you start acting differently. You start asking better questions, not how much can I earn, but how resilient is my income, not what can I buy next, but what increases my options, not when will things improve like Chris, but how do I stay strong if they don't? Those questions change behavior, and behavior determines outcomes. If this perspective resonates with you even a little, make sure you've subscribed to Luke Invests. This channel isn't here to hype you up. It's here to help you stay ahead. And if you're still watching, comment below. Do you feel like things are getting harder or just more uncertain? Because awareness starts with honesty. I hear it say, we're still early in this shift. The pressure hasn't peaked yet, The real consequences haven't fully surfaced, but the direction is clear. The era of easy assumptions is ending, and the people who recognize that early, not emotionally but strategically, will be the ones who don't just survive what's coming. They'll have the calm, the control, and the positioning to move when others can't. Preparation sounds boring until you realize the cost of not preparing. Most people only respect risk after it hurts them. Before that, warnings feel dramatic, advice feels unnecessary, and discipline feels optional. But every financial crisis teaches the same lesson in a different accent. The system doesn't break everyone equally. Some people fall behind permanently, some people pause, then recover, and a small group quietly moves ahead. The difference is never intelligence, it's never luck alone, it's positioning. Let me say this clearly, and this is my strongest opinion in this entire video. The next few years will not be about getting rich, they will be about not getting trapped. Trapped by debt, trapped by lifestyle, trapped by a single income source, trapped by outdated thinking. Freedom in uncertain times doesn't come from how much you earn, it comes from how many options you have. Options to wait, options to move, options to say no, and options only exist when you build margin into your life. Margin in your finances, margin in your time, margin in your skills. This is why simplification is powerful right now. Not minimalism for aesthetics, but simplification for control. Fewer liabilities, clearer priorities, stronger foundations. Because when pressure increases, whatever is weak gets exposed. Here's something most people won't admit. They're living a life designed for stability inside a system that's becoming unstable. That mismatch creates anxiety, and anxiety pushes people toward bad decisions, quick fixes, risky bets, emotional spending, desperate investments. But desperation is never rewarded in markets or in life. This is the phase where calm thinkers quietly separate themselves. They don't rush, they don't panic, they don't copy, they build quietly while others complain loudly. They focus on strengthening their income base, improving skills that compound over time, keeping liquidity for flexibility, avoiding commitments that reduce freedom. None of this is exciting, but all of it is effective, and effectiveness matters more than excitement now. Another truth that needs to be said, you don't need perfect information to act wisely. You need directional clarity. You don't need to predict exactly what will happen. You just need to understand what's unlikely to happen, and what's unlikely is a return to easy money, effortless growth, and risk-free living. That chapter is closed. This doesn't mean opportunity is gone. It means opportunity has changed form. It's less obvious, less advertised, less forgiving, which is why patience is no longer passive, it's strategic. And discipline is no longer restrictive, it's protective. If you take one thing from this entire video, let it be this. Don't measure success in the next phase by speed. Measure it by stability. Stability buys time. Time buys learning. Learning buys leverage, and leverage changes outcomes. This channel, Luke Invests, exists because too many people are being taught how to chase money, but not how to survive systems that change. If this video helped you see things more clearly, do 3 simple things. Hit the like button. It helps this message reach people who need it. Subscribe to Luke Invests, because we're going to keep having these honest conversations. And comment below, do you feel prepared for what's coming or still uncertain? I read the comments and I build future videos based on what you're struggling with. Remember this, what's coming is worse than a recession, not because it's more dramatic, but because it demands more responsibility from you. And responsibility, once accepted, becomes power. This is Luke. You're watching Luke Invests. Stay aware, stay flexible, and most importantly, stay in control. Now here's where the conversation needs to shift, because understanding the problem is important, but knowing how to position yourself inside it is what actually changes outcomes. Most people, once they sense pressure, do one of 2 things. They either panic, or they freeze. Panic leads to bad decisions. Freezing leads to no decisions. Both are expensive. The people who do well in uncertain periods do something very different. They simplify not their thinking, their exposure. Let me explain what I mean. When systems become unstable, complexity becomes a liability. Too many expenses, too many commitments, too many assumptions, and the more complex your financial life is, the harder it becomes to adjust when conditions change. This is why flexibility is quietly becoming the most valuable asset of all. Not wealth, not status, not even income. Flexibility, the ability to say no, the ability to wait, the ability to pivot. Most people don't lack intelligence. They lack room to breathe. And when you don't have breathing room, every decision feels urgent. Urgency kills logic. Here's an opinion that goes against popular advice. Right now is not about maximizing returns. It's about minimizing regret. People who obsess over squeezing every percent out of investments often ignore the bigger picture, their overall fragility. High returns don't matter if one shock wipes you out. This phase rewards people who build buffers, financial buffers, emotional buffers, skill buffers, because buffers buy you time, and time lets you act instead of react. Let's talk about income for a moment, because this is where reality hits hardest. Relying on a single source of income in an unstable environment is a risk most people underestimate, not because that income will disappear tomorrow, but because its negotiating power is shrinking. When companies have options, workers lose leverage. So the question isn't, will my job vanish? The real question is, how replaceable am I? That's an uncomfortable question, but it's an important one. And avoiding it doesn't protect you, it delays preparation. This is why skills matter more than titles. Skills move with you, titles don't. If your value only exists inside one company, one industry, or one role, you are exposed. And exposure without awareness becomes vulnerability. Another key shift people need to understand: in the next phase, growth will be uneven. Some sectors will struggle, some will quietly thrive, some individuals will fall behind, others will pull far ahead. And the gap won't be about effort, it will be about positioning. Being in the right place with the right skills at the right time. You can't control timing perfectly, but you can control readiness. This is where patience becomes powerful. People hate patience because it feels like doing nothing, but patience with preparation is not inactivity, it's restraint. Restraint from bad decisions, restraint from FOMO, restraint from copying strategies that worked in a different environment. Most financial mistakes are not made because people don't know what to do. They're made because people act too early or too emotionally. Right now, calm is an advantage. The ability to look at uncertainty and not rush, to observe before committing, to learn before leaping. And this is where mindset separates outcomes. If you see this period as punishment, you'll play defense forever. But if you see it as a transition, you start thinking in terms of positioning for stability first, then growth. Because growth built on instability collapses quickly. This is something I want you to really absorb. You don't need to be aggressive right now. You need to be intentional. Intentional about what you commit to, intentional about what you avoid, intentional about what you build quietly in the background. That's how resilience is created. Not with dramatic moves, but with consistent, boring discipline. If this way of thinking feels grounded instead of exciting, that's a good sign. Because excitement is usually expensive in uncertain times. And if you're finding value in this kind of honest breakdown, make sure you're subscribed to Luke Invests. This channel exists to help you think clearly when noise is at its loudest. Because what's coming doesn't require fear, it requires preparation. And preparation always starts with how you position yourself before the pressure peaks.